Hello and welcome to Workin' Mama. Today I'm going to talk to you about pumping at work, which is something that I very much struggled to find videos on when I was getting towards the end of my maternity leave and getting ready to go back to work. So I wanted to take some time to show you how my setup is at work, and hopefully it can help some of you. So first of all, you're of course going to need a pump. I have the Spectra S1 and I highly recommend it. All of the products that I'm going to show you today, I will link in the description below. So what I have here is my pumping bag. This is called the JuJuBe Be Supplied. I love JuJuBe bags because they're machine washable, super durable, last forever, and they actually have a pretty good resale value too if you end up not wanting to repurpose it after you don't need it as a mommy bag. They make diaper bags, duffel bags, all kinds of different bags, and I highly recommend checking them out. Again, I'll link this in the description below so you can see. So this bag has an awesome pocket right out the side here for my Spectra. It fits perfectly, very snug. So really it just barely fits, I'll say. One thing that I learned from someone else as a little hack is the tubing. I actually don't ever take it out. So the Spectra is a closed system, meaning that there is no ability for the milk when you're pumping to backflow. So that means that milk is never going to touch the tubing, never going to touch your system. So it's okay to leave it in there. At least I do. So I have it here. As I said, I have the S1, which is the one that's battery enabled, so I don't need to have it plugged in all the time, and I highly recommend that because us working moms are always on the go, and a lot of times I might even pump while driving, in between meetings, taking conference calls, and I don't always have access to an outlet. So that's how I start with my setup here. And as you can see, that pocket is really discreet. You can't tell anything about it from the bag. So the next thing I have is in the back slip pocket of this bag. I have a little packing pouch. This is another JuJuBe bag. This is a large Be Set piece. And in here, I have just a burp cloth. I always use this, one of these, just to have on my lap, just in case there's spillage or anything. And it's good to have. I also put in here my pumping bra. So this, I'll link it again in the description below. A lot of people use those Simple Wishes, like strap-free ones. I actually really like this because if you're gonna wear nursing bras all the time, it clips right in, and I feel like it's more secure. Could just be me, but that's how I feel about it, and I really like it. So maybe you will too. The other thing I have in here is a wet bag. This is actually a mini wet bag from JuJuBe that's part of the Be Equipped. The Be Equipped is a really nice set to complement the JuJuBe Be Supplied bag because it comes with this mini wet bag. It comes with a medium mesh bag, which I'll show you an example of what that looks like. And it comes with a mini fuel cell, which is meant for baby bottles. So this is the mini fuel cell, mini wet bag, and I don't have the exact one that matches that came with the trio here, but just to give you an example, this is about the size of a mesh bag. So what you'll see here is that I put in the mesh bag my pumping parts. And usually for the day, I get them set up in the morning. So you've got your flanges, duckbill valves. This is the backflow system I was mentioning that makes it so that milk can never go back into your system, which is fantastic. So get that all hooked up. You'll also see on here, I actually have an adapter for kindy bags, or kind bags. I'm not sure exactly how it's pronounced. I always say kindy, but I don't think it's correct. So I use these, and I use another medium, this is called a Be Organized piece from JuJuBe, but as I mentioned, one of those comes with the Be Equipped trio set. So I actually keep a bunch of those kindy bags in one of these so that I don't have to replenish very often. And so I will go ahead and hook this up to my adapter here. And I would say in terms of what fits in here, in terms of like a regular size box of Kindy that's like this big, probably about half that box fits in one of these. So it's really nice to keep that supply in there. The other thing that I do is I put one side with a bag, with a Kindy bag, and the other side I do with a bottle. And I do this, it's gonna vary for you based on your supply. If you're particularly gifted in that area, you may just wanna put bags on both sides. They also, by the way, make the Kindy bags in 6 ounce or 8 ounce. I just have the 6 ounce. And so what I tend to do is I am fortunate in that I get about 5 ounces per pump on average. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how long it's been. So what I'll do, because that'll fit in one bag, is I'll put one bag, one bottle, and then combine after. And so the next thing that I do is I take that bag off of the system, like I mentioned, and I will grab my Sharpie, which I keep in here. I have a few things in this. This is called the Mommy Pocket on JuJuBe bags. And I'll go ahead and just write, there's a little space to write on here. I usually put the date on the top, and I put my son's name and the fact that it's breast milk, because that's what is required of his daycare. So that's something you might want to look into, as well as what do they want you to be writing on the bottles. Daycare had no problem with taking these as bottles, which is fantastic. So there's a plastic bottle piece that makes it easier to hold, and then a bunch of nipples that we supply them with to use as bottles at school. So another thing I wanted to mention, since we're talking about the Spectra system, these bottles are going to come with, I think 2 will come with your set. But another thing that's nice is that Advent bottles fit right on here directly as well. So you'll see in this mini fuel cell here, just to show you for size and what it fits, I have a little slim ice pack, and I have 2 Advent bottles. So I wanted to show you, more than this will fit for sure. You could probably fit, if you were only to use the smaller ones, which are labeled to go to 4 ounces, but they fit a little over 5. If you use these only, you could probably fit at least 4 in here, side by side. I wanted to show you a couple of things of just how versatile all of this is and how it works together. This lid is actually from the Spectra bottle system that came with my pump. So you can use that on the Advent, but you can also just go ahead and directly connect these to your Spectra flanges as well, which is really nice. And as I mentioned before, if you're particularly gifted in the supply area and you might need a bigger bottle, you can use the larger Advent bottles as well to just connect directly to your flange. So you might have noticed that I have blue duckbill valves. You don't necessarily need to get Spectra branded replacement parts. One of the resources that I used a lot while pumping at work is Legendary Milk, and I'll link them in the description below. But they recommend very highly that all of the soft parts that come with your system, so for example, these duckbill flanges and one of the parts of the backflow system is a membrane here. They really recommend that you replace those pretty frequently. I'll put that in the description so you can see what that is. And so I buy replacements for these probably once every couple of months. I will say that I'm probably a little unique in that I have 4 sets of flanges, 4 complete sets. So I really like to not have to do dishes every single day. And so that's why I opted to buy extras. Okay, so where were we? I'm really bummed. I just did the perfect take of this video and lost about half of it. So now we're back. Okay, so I believe I was just telling you that I have multiple sets of pumping parts, and so I am replacing them, as I mentioned, once every couple of months. I'm replacing those duckbill valves. So I will link in the description the social media contacts for Legendary Milk. They have really great recommendations. They do comparisons for different pumps as well, different products, and really are there to help you get the most out of your time breastfeeding and pumping particularly. But anyway, I, just to share with you, pump about 3 times a day at work and once in the evening. So usually about 4 times a day, I'd say on average. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. And I am going through, I've probably reordered duckbill valves maybe 3 times. Right now my son's 10 months old and we're trying to go for a whole year with breastfeeding. So that's what we've had going on at our house. So I have never really noticed any difference between the different brands. You don't necessarily need to replace the different parts with Spectra brand. Spectra is very expensive. And you know, I mean, it's all plastic parts. Like, it doesn't seem like it necessarily should be. And other companies agree because they have created parts that fit interchangeably as well. Maymom is a popular one. I'll link in the description below a few of the different ones that I have used. I've seen these flanges in blue, yellow, pink, and white, and I've never noticed any difference in production output from having them as opposed to Spectra branded. What I will say though is that I notice a huge difference when particularly your duckbills are going out. They will sometimes make a sound too. It sounds like air is escaping. It's like a little very faint whistle kind of thing. That means it's really time to change. And so you do notice a huge difference when you go from that to a brand new set. So I highly recommend changing those out at the appropriate frequency based on your usage. So since I have so many sets, I am rotating through these complete sets all the time, and so I didn't necessarily have to change everything quite as frequently, but you gotta do what's right for you. So at the end of my sessions, you know, I'm done pumping, everything's going great. I will, as I mentioned, combine the milk from the bottle into the bag. I'll go into my bag here and grab a trusty Sharpie to write what's needed on this bottle for my son's daycare. That's something that you might want to look into as well. They need on there his name and what it is, so if it's breast milk or formula, so I write that on here, and I also put the date on the cap for myself. So I'll take care of that, put everything away, and then I will take the JuJuBe mini wet bag and put all of my pumping parts in it. And I do this because I try to minimize the amount of time that I take or that I need to take for pumping breaks. Because us being working mamas, a lot of us have maybe high pressure jobs, or you're just trying to fit in pumps when you can in between meetings, taking conference calls, things like that. And I don't have 10 minutes after I've already taken 20 minutes to pump to also wash everything after every single use. So I will put it all in the wet bag and then store it in the fridge in between pumping sessions. And then when I get home, I wash it all. So another thing that I recommend if you're maybe not as comfortable with that, or if you don't have access to a fridge for some reason, is these wipes. They're Mandela branded. I'll link them below. I have them here in a little wipe pouch, which is nice to keep the moisture in there. I know if you know, you probably do, you buy wipes and sometimes they dry out pretty fast. Having them in a wipe pouch really helps keep the moisture for longer. So these wipes you can use in between when you're not able to get a full wash, and you use them basically to wipe down all of your parts, and then you rinse them, let them air dry, and then they're ready to use again, just when you're not able to get to those washes. Now, a lot of people, instead of using a little wet bag like this, will just use a clear gallon bag, Ziploc, whatever. You can certainly do that. I mean, I would say the only benefit to using a bag like this is that it's reusable, you're not using plastic. But for me, the key is that it's discreet. So I don't like flaunting the fact that I'm pumping, you know. I mean, I've got a lot of coworkers that I'm seeing. Sometimes I'm not necessarily storing this in the fridge in the pumping room. Sometimes I do get to do that, other times not, so I'm storing it in like our communal kitchen. And so that's fine. I just don't necessarily want everybody to see that I have these pumping parts. So that's just me. You might be different, but I do recommend the bag. Machine washable, I love it. And as mentioned, that is part of that JuJuBe Be Equipped trio, which comes with the mini wet bag, the mini fuel cell, and that medium mesh bag, which is about the size of this. And this one is actually from a Be Organized set. So another JuJuBe item that you might want to look into. So I also want to mention just a few other things that I do take with me for pumping that I have in my pump bag here. So here in the mommy pocket, as they call it on JuJuBe bags, I have in here a little coin purse, and in there I have just a set of headphones and a phone charger, just in case, because that's usually what I'm doing while I'm pumping, is looking at my phone, maybe watching a video, maybe reading emails for work, etc. I also have a small piece from the JuJuBe Be set, and in here I just have some snacks. So I have bars, chewy bars, fruit snacks, etc. That is something that they do not warn you about when you're going to start breastfeeding. I mean, I guess it's not the same for everybody, but for me, my hunger increased a crazy amount. And I actually was pretty lucky in that during the pregnancy, I did not eat a lot more than I did pre-pregnancy, but breastfeeding, it was like all bets are off. And I eat a ton, and I'm always needing snacks. So always have them. Also in here, you know, a couple Sharpies, as I already showed you. I've got a Tide pen just in case. And then I already showed you over here that I had those wipes. I also have some napkins, deodorant, and some regular baby wipes just in case as well. So that's how I go to work and pump at work. That's my setup. I would love to hear your tips as well, or hear what you think, any questions that you have as you're preparing to probably end your maternity leave and get back into the office. So please feel free to ask any questions, comment, like this video, share if you think that anyone else might find this helpful. But I hope that you do. This was my first video on my new channel. So I am Workin' Mama, and I hope that you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one.